Hi fans, viewers and subscribers, join me Roku for another beer review. Today this beer comes with a lot of history which I'll be telling you just about in a moment. This is St Bernardus Triple. This is a Belgium Abbey beer, or technically an ale as they like to call it. And as you can see, this comes in at 8% and is a 333 ml. It tells you there to store the beer at 4 to 8 degrees, which I will do. I have done, so yeah. This beer also has live yeast in the bottom, so we have a chance to remix. I don't know if you can see that, but no, we're not picking it up on camera. And this sadly is not in 4K because of the length of the video, and to be honest with you, I think my phone would burn up again. So, just before I crack on, let's start with the history. Okay, so basically, shortly after the Second World War, the Trappist monastery, Saint Sixtus in West Verlenten, was looking for somebody to commercialise their beer, and they didn't want to do it themselves, basically. So then they gave the licence to the cheese factory and the brewery St Bernard, and that was then founded. So, i.e., this beer was founded through that brewery. The brewmaster was obviously from a Polish descent and became partners in the brewery and brought along the recipes, the know-how of the St Sixtus yeast strain. So obviously with him brought some knowledge, which obviously works very well to this day. They started selling the beers under the names Trappist, West Verlenten and St Sixtus, or even later Sixtus. During a 46-year period, the brew was commercialised and the beers with the monks continued to brew for themselves and for sales in 3 pubs, one of which was next to the monastery. So that's pretty cool. In 92, the licence came to an end, and since then they are brewing the same beers, the same recipes, but under different brand names, St Bernardus. Hence this one here today. So then between 1946 and 92, the brewery St Sixtus West Verlenten Abbey beers were brewed by the St Bernardus brewery. When the monks of West Verlenten decided to start brewing their beers within the abbey walls again, St Bernardus were concerned about falling sales. This gave rise to the idea of producing a blonde triple, hence what we're looking at today. And since then, it's the St Bernardus triple was introduced in 92 as a classic Belgian triple. Okay, so again, what we're looking at here was founded in 92, which is quite new in my eyes. It has in-bottle re-fermentation, hence the live yeast. It develops a natural yeast inside the glass and gives a natural silky soft froth that clings to the glass. And since 2010, the beers have been brewed using hops that St Bernardus grow themselves, right next to the brewery. So again, they're actually harvesting their own crops and ingredients for this. This triple has become very popular in its own region, which is nice to know. And you can find it virtually anywhere in Belgium and in France too. The ingredients, which I think is pretty cool, which is really cool, is not only do they have their own yeast as well, and they add different yeasts as well. So just before, so they use one yeast for fermentation, and then they use a different yeast added before re-fermentation. So that's 2 lots of yeast. Ingredients are, and this is, I'm quite glad to know that there is some English stuff in this. So you've got your water, which is made with well water, which already scores big in my eyes. Barley malt, Kent Golding hops, which is from England. Haliota Magnum bitter hops, candy sugar and yeast. And this food par, as I can get this in now. There's food par goes well with white fish, as it brings out the underlying flavours of fish, and it's also recommended with meat dishes. And it gives here a suggestion of a leg of lamb roasted in honey. So yeah, it's a very versatile beer, this then. So I'm just going to show you the pour now, because I didn't want to pour it beforehand while saying you this information, just in case it went flat. So Now on with the pour, fans. There's your cap. That would have looked awesome in 4K. Like a little silver cross medal thing going on there, which is really nice. Shit, it's gonna climb, it's gonna climb. It's climbing too high. Mate, I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna step in, fans, hang on. Okay. The head is very bitter. Very strong alcohol hit on that. I've deliberately left a little bit in. It's still fucking climbing. This, look, it's gonna climb again. Can we see that? It's getting stupid. I've got to keep an eye on that. There's still a little bit left in the bowl. I'm going to remix the yeast because apparently it can re-ferment again. So, as wheat beers and certain strong beers with yeast still in the bottle, you can actually do this no matter what they are. So I'm just going to leave that to settle a minute because I can see the head coming right up in that. The beer itself then, very, very striking, typical gold colour, very darkish. The head, well, speaks for itself, doesn't it? It's just massive. Carbonation is just non-stop, hence the head. There's not much I can do about this, fans, I do apologise. The big bubbles in the glasses there, you can see the odd big bubble and some here as well. But here's just to show you how different this can be, though it's big bubbled all round and tiny compact bubbles at the bottom there. We do have a sort of slow, consistent, tightly packed bubbled head. Alright then, as I mentioned, the head itself is bitter and it is quite a strong alcohol taste on the head. So yeah, let's get into smelling this. I mean, this is a family run brewery apparently, and it also has a picture of a monk on it, so I'm hoping that if this is a true Abbey Ale beer, then we know that the money from the sales of this beer will go to the monks. His face just does it all for me, look at that. Smells quite sweet. Grassy tones. Sort of a light freshness almost. White wheat, white bread. Yeah, smells quite sweet, but a array of different aromas coming through. Very light aromas as well, so hopefully the beer itself will be nice and light. I'm hoping for an 8%er. If it is, then it's classed as dangerous in my eyes, because there are a lot of these beers out there. So let's crack on. Yeah, we're in dangerous territory, fans. This is insanely drinkable. Oh my god, I'm trying not to neck that now. I'm getting the urge to neck it. Remember, it's 8%. What you have is an incredibly well balanced, well put together beer. That is clear. The well water really does give it a real sort of freshness in the mouthfeel, and also a very good smoothness, an all-round smoothness and freshness that comes through. The beer itself is kind of sweet. I'm getting sort of various different things coming through between sweets and kind of spices, and there's a very, very nice, well put together sort of almost spice bitter hop at the end on the mouthfeel there, and I quite like that because it's not overpowering, but given the choice between the sweet and the spice from the hop aroma, it really does counteract each other and they complement each other really well. The carbonation in the mouth you cannot taste at all. There is virtually no carbs in the mouth. It is that smooth. It's quite sweet. I would say there's a fair bit of sugar gone into this, hence the candy, Belgian candy sugar. If you've ever seen that, that stuff is absolutely pitch black like treacle. Can't be good for you. But what we have here is then a very insanely drinkable sweet beer with lots of well balanced flavours and all roundness to it. The body's nice and light as well, and you can see there from the lacing on the glass, it just sticks beautifully. Look at that, that is amazing. Even now in the lacing you can see how big those bubbles are. It's just crazy. This stuff just does not let up. Right, let's go in for a second gulp. And you really sort of swish it around in your mouth a little bit, you can kind of get like a caramel, a slight caramel, but then more of that spice comes in. It's like a herby spice. It really is really good. I tell you what, you can tell this is a top quality beer. You know, all respect to the brewery for making this. Just going to make sure I really have remixed this. Hopefully this will work. It never has failed me as of yet. Right. Here we go, let's remix. See what happens. Instantly, look at the colour change. Look at that. Look at the colour change on that. Look how dark that's now gone. That reminds me of homebrew. You know, some of my homebrews have looked like this in the past with the same colour, same sort of head consistency. Oh, if I burp, sign of good beer. You know, my homebrews have had the same sort of colour and consistency with a head. But I'm sure this will taste better than my homebrew because depending on what I'm brewing and all the temperature control, you know, you can go from a good beer to a bad beer. But this, believe you and me, is a good beer. So let's see what happens now. Smell changes completely. Smells of just, I don't know, almost like a candy cane. It's not Christmas yet, fans. When remixed, tones everything down. You don't get no spice, you don't get no sweetness, you don't get that bitter hop finish. You still get the smoothness, but what you do get is more of an alcohol hit. So all the flavours tone right down, including the sweetness as well. It kind of becomes dull, and then what happens is you just get more of an alcohol hit, which is quite increasingly warming. You know, it's warming in the mouth, it's warming in the throat. But I will say this, fans, if you are a Baltica 9, was it Baltica 8 or Baltica 9? I can't remember what one it is. The strongest one of all the Balticas, which is 8%, I think it was 9. Yeah, Baltica 9. If you like Baltica 9, fans, you will like this. It's very, very similar in the way that the body of the beer is put together, although this has more flavour in the way that it's got more spice, it's got more bitterness. You can really taste the hops. You know, there's a slight subtle sweetness to it, so in my eyes, this is a real good all-round beer for flavour. And for that reason, fans, I'm going to have to score this a 10 out of 10. I can't fault it. I just think it's really nice, well put together. I'm happy with that. By all means, fans, go ahead and try this. See for yourself. So, that leaves me now to say goodbye. And have a wonderful day, fans. Thanks for watching.